really important that we keep the roadsides clean and things like that.
It can be cigarette butts, anything that people throw away on the street.
Also the way they take care of their cars and have them maintained and not change the oil right in the backyard. And sometimes it's just as simple as looking at the weather forecast. You pay good money for fertilizers and insecticide, but if you apply that material and then turn on your sprinklers just before it's going to rain, you lose that investment and it washes right into the bayous and into the bay.
It's critical to have these emergent shoreline marsh grasses and have a good healthy crop of them.
The natural grasses that are native to this area provide a much better filtration system than any man-made filter or device or seawall that so many people put up.
We think about seawalls differently now than we used to. And that's because we have altered so much of our natural shoreline by the placement of seawalls.
A seawall provides a conduit, if you will, for all those fertilizers just to fall off the edge into the water.
It would be far better to work in harmony with the natural shoreline and build structures that don't take away the wetlands, the marshes, and the nursery areas.
And one thing that's very important is going back into areas that don't have stormwater treatment, putting in ponds, routing the water to the pond, letting the pond treat the stormwater before it discharges to the bay.
We have this old neighborhood in St. Andrews between 19th Street and 98, and they were having some drainage issues. We devised a project to have this stormwater retention pond. The water that comes from up in the neighborhood that runs through the ditches and the streets actually is retained on site. Put some nice fencing around it, add some fountains and some landscaping, allow it to perk slowly into the ground and be purified somewhat, and the fountains help keep it aerated, and plus it's aesthetically pleasing for this neighborhood. And only in a huge significant rain event would the outfall open up and allow the water to spill into Lake Huntington to prevent flooding of this neighborhood.
Stormwater treatment ponds are one solution, but there are many others. In some cases, we need to replace concrete ditches with grassy swales, and where that's not possible, we need to use high-tech end-of-the-pipe treatment to solve some of our problems. We're fortunate. We've had people studying this problem for years. We now know what the solutions are. We need to implement those solutions. We need to act now.
If I were to go as mayor and say we're going to solve all of our stormwater problems, but the neighboring city has not done theirs, it's north of me, then I'm of no avail, because whatever I do is not going to be adequate for my system once they do what they're going to do. So it has to be a community-wide effort. We don't care who gets the money, but put it where it needs to be done the most.
The St. Andrew Bay Stormwater Program has built a team of governments working together on a watershed-wide basis, because that's the only way that you can treat stormwater. The water doesn't respect political lines or city boundaries.
I don't think that we have the same intergovernmental turf battles that we've had with other issues.
So it's critical that we do something. Do it now.
The future for Bay County is bright. With the airport on its way, we need to plan for that growth, because it's going to happen.
It's important that we preserve as much of our interior forested wetlands we can, because water running into those is filtered by those wetlands, and it also recharges our groundwater.
Prevention is always better than control, so we want to prevent stormwater runoff. That's a higher priority than trying to control stormwater runoff after it's already generated.
Proper design of our highways, limiting the amount of impervious surface we have, like parking lots and streets, wise decisions in how our community and our watershed grows, that we put a little thought into it.
Harbor Village and historic St. Andrews is a very good example of smart stormwater management practices. The park is an expansion of the city park, Oaks by the Bay Park, into the Harbor Village Park. As designers, our goal was to create an atmosphere of open filling, while at the same time introducing 116 units of housing here on St. Andrews Bay. The biggest challenge we ran up against, we had over 2 acres of parking to contend with. There's about 225 cars below the green rooftop surface. The green rooftop acts as a filtration system for stormwater management. When the rain falls, the rain is absorbed through the grass and the plants, through pervious areas, the water is able to absorb into the ground rather than sheet flow or drain off. The water percolates through the soil, down through a waterproofing membrane and soil separator into a storm drainage system, control vault. There, the water is filtered before entering into the bay. The goal here should be the same on every project, whether it be down to a simple gas station or a restaurant or a high-end condominium. We've got a beautiful natural water body, St. Andrews Bay here, and we need to do all that we can to protect it.
The St. Andrew Bay Stormwater Management Program can be a model for the east coast of the United States, all the way from Bangor, Maine to Brownville, Texas.
But as I travel around the state of Florida and see some of the bays and rivers and streams and so on, and I come back home and take a look at our beautiful bay, I'm always heartened to know that I live here, but most importantly, it urges me and it pushes me to make sure that we preserve this for generations to come.
I had an opportunity to leave Bay County. I would never leave Bay County. This is my home. The water is what's made us.
I don't know a single soul here who hasn't reaped the benefits and rewards from St. Andrews Bay as a whole. We just want to make sure that it's not too late, that we're forward thinking and protecting what we have.
It's important to me to keep the bay clean because this is my children's inheritance, and this is where I want them to bring their children when they get older, because they have such fond memories of this area and growing up here and playing on these beaches, fishing with their dad and their grandfather.
Today, I've been able to teach my daughter how to sail, and I want her to enjoy the bay the way that I was able to, and for her children to be able to do the same thing.
We've been here in Panama City for 100 years. Now it's time for a paradigm shift. It's time for a new way of thinking, because we got to take care of it for the next 100 years. So it's important that we invest in our community. There's no better time than now.
We are all part of the solution. We're all partners in keeping the bay healthy and vital. What we do now will have consequences for years to come. The time is now.